Because this is a drugstore makeup look, I am going to be placing some primer, and I will be using my NYX Pore Filler. This is from Priceline. It's a really reasonable, I believe it's like probably about $10 to $15. So I'm just going to place that all along my T-zone area where I do suffer from quite enlarged pores. This is really great for filling those in. I quite like this one. It reminds me a lot of the Benefit Professional. Also great for matting out areas that you get quite oily. And lately I've just been filling in my smile line as well, because I find it quite often separates around that area. So today's foundation that I'm going to be doing a first impressions and review is the new and improved 24-hour Super Stay Full Coverage Foundation by Maybelline. I picked mine up in the shade 36 Warm. I found that it was really hard to sort of try and pick a color that matched my skin tone, and this one I felt like was probably the best one to go with a tanned skin base, because if I am going to be wearing a full coverage long wearing, it's for an event or an occasion, so I thought I'd get it in a fake tan color. Now I'm going to jump online and go onto the Priceline website and just read a little bit about this product. It also has quite a extensive range of colors. So this is a high pigment long wear full coverage foundation that corrects visible flaws to transform the skin. It is a matte finish with a flawless base up to 24 hours. The champion of long wear just got better. It's a high pigment long wear full coverage foundation that transforms the skin to reveal a matte finish flawless base up to 24 hours. Now this is a matte coverage foundation. That's not something that I typically enjoy to use because I do have dry skin. I'm really curious to see what that is going to be like. Now, this foundation has been around for a really long time, and I really love when brands reformulate, because that just means that they're keeping up to date with what products are working and what ways they can make something a little bit better. This product retails for $14.97. It's on sale at the moment, and it usually retails for $24.95. So to start off with this foundation, I'm going to take my Morphe beauty sponge and I am going to start to apply this foundation. I've already popped on my primer, so I'm just going to go in and do what I normally would and just place it over my face and blend out. It's been so long since I've done a first impressions. Like, there hasn't really been anything that sort of stood out to me that I kind of wanted to try out, so this was really exciting. This has got a pump on it, which is amazing. I also picked up some other products from the Maybelline Stay range, so I'm not putting like a whole lot. My skin's looking pretty good. I actually had microdermabrasion done yesterday, so my skin's feeling amazing. I'm just going to take my beauty blender and just punch that into my skin. I was so nervous about this color. I thought that it would look way too dark and orange, but it's actually blending in really nicely. Instantly, when I'm buffing this into my skin, I'm not feeling hydrated. It definitely does have a high matte textured feel to it. Like, it feels really powdery on my skin. It doesn't feel horrible, but it is something that you have to really buff in quite quickly. Like, you can't waste time letting it sit on your skin because it sets really quick. But I'm not hating it for a matte foundation. Like, it actually already feels like I've got powder on my face. Like, it's got a really nice feel to it. For a full coverage, it actually covers really quite well. This is only a really light first layer. It's actually quite full coverage. It feels really nice. It definitely, like I mentioned, does feel matte, but it doesn't feel horrible. I am not a matte foundation type of gal, and I feel like this actually doesn't feel drying on the skin, which is nice. Covers up quite a lot of those areas if you are wanting to have more of a natural finish full coverage, like for work or something. It feels really, really nice. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a second layer. But with this time, I'm just going to put it onto my sponge and sort of just do areas that I feel need that little bit of extra coverage. Like, I always get a little bit of pigment and blackhead, pimple type of things just on my hormone line there, so I really just kind of like to do that extra coat there and on my birthmark also. But yeah, It's amazing to me like how powdery it feels on my skin. It feels really nice though. Okay, so now once I am happy with this full coverage look, I definitely think that this is a foundation that shouldn't be too heavily handed with. It is a super full coverage foundation. Automatically, I can see that it has covered my skin really nicely. I definitely would recommend going in with a first coat and then spot covering any extra areas that you feel probably need that little bit of extra coverage, if you want to call it that. I'm curious to see what it's going to be like for us, so it might be something that we can use, but I've heard so many great reviews about this foundation, so I'm low-key kind of putting this on a pedestal, so I'll be really disappointed if it is not that great. But yeah, for the price that I paid for it so far, I'm really liking it. So what I'm going to go in and do is do the rest of my face. And yeah, so normally when I'm doing a first impressions, I usually just do the foundation, but today I really wanted to do a first impressions with my foundation and concealer. This concealer is the Superstay 24 hour, so it is the sister that goes along with it, and I really wanted to see what this would be like alongside the foundation, especially for the under eye area to highlight. I just, you know, find sometimes with the drugstore ones, they settle in my fine lines and wrinkles and kind of separate a little bit. So I really wanted to see what this would be like also. I got the shade number Light 2. So I'm going to go in and just pop that under my eye. Oh, shivers. It's really watery. This one, it's a bit pink, number 2. So I wasn't expecting it to be that pink. So I'm going real full coverage today because I really want to get the most out of this. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right, yeah? All right, so then with the pointy end of my sponge, I'm just gonna go in and tap that in. And then to set that, I don't have a Maybelline powder, but to set, I'm going to be using my Rimmel. I'm gonna be taking my Australis banana powder and just setting that under eye area. And then just to set the rest of my face, I'm going to be taking my Australis Fresh and Flawless in the shade Medium Tan. I just really wanted to set my face before I started talking to you about the concealer. So first up, when I applied, it was really watery. When I was blending in the concealer for my under eye area, I was noticing that it was really hard to blend out. It was super thick, and I thought maybe if I just not move my eye and wait until I set it, it might sit a lot nicer. But then once I started blending up my nose and around this area, I was feeling like the color was looking a lot ashier, and it just really wasn't suiting the foundation. I applied my under eye powder, and before I had even started applying the powder, I did it quite quickly. It was already starting to separate underneath my eyes and looking kind of cracked. So far, I'm not really loving that concealer. I don't know, it just, it looks really powdery on my under eye, and it's really, really thick, and I can already start to see the separation of those areas, especially when you are doing a full coverage look. You don't want it to separate because you are having such a thick full coverage. You can see everything. So at the moment, I'm not really sure about that concealer. Over time, I'm really curious to see what it will be like, but to apply it, my suggestion would be to use less than more when applying, but also to be really quick when you're working with it. That color was looking really pink, and it's still looking pink, like it's looking really ashy. Like it doesn't look so bad on the monitor, but in real life, I don't know, like it looks really powdery on my face. And for the rest of the foundation though, like it's looking really, really good. So I'm just really curious to see, you know, how well this stays and for how long. Like I mentioned, this foundation and concealer are both 24 hours. I find that so unrealistic anyway, because who actually wears foundation for 24 hours? I have quite a lot on today. It is a little bit later in the day. It's 12:30, but I had to work this morning, so I couldn't get this video done. And then by the time I sort of finished some clients, like I just thought I'd start now. I'm going to be doing like a whole bunch of things this afternoon, and then I'm also going out for dinner with some friends of mine. One of my girlfriends just got back from Europe, so I will be out and about and doing things. So I feel like this would be a really good day to try this foundation out, because it would give you a more of a better indication rather than me just hanging out. So I will finish doing the rest of my face like I normally do, and then I might just jump back on because I'm not really doing a whole lot to my face. Like I don't want to go too full on because it's a Tuesday, but I might just do the rest of my face and then jump back on, and that will be probably about half an hour. And then that way you guys can kind of see how it's sitting, and then maybe my thoughts might have changed a little bit more. So yeah, I'm just going to jump off and finish my foundation. Okay, so I've now finished my makeup look. This is it. I didn't want to go too dramatic, but you know how it is. You say, I'm just going to do a light eye, and then next minute I've got full-blown wing liner. But anyway, it is now 12:51, so that really didn't take as long as what I thought. Everything's set, bronzer, everything. So at the moment I feel a little bit happier with the under eye area on how it is looking. I still feel like it is creasing a little bit in this area right under here, and a little bit it sort of started separating around my smile line. I'm not really too concerned about my smile line, purely because that's something that always happens no matter what brand of foundation I use. So I'm not really too concerned about that. Overall, I'm really loving the look of this foundation. Color of it is just so pretty. It's matched up with my skin so nicely, and I don't know, yeah, like I just really like it. Like I feel like it's blending really pretty. I'm curious to see how this goes. I am going to check back in at about 3 o'clock because I feel like that'll be about 3 hours. I now have to go and have some lunch, and I'm doing a few other things as well, which is kind of a bit physical. So I'm curious to see how this settles in. Also, another thing that I wanted to mention is my lip color. This lip color is a part of the 24-hour Super Stay color range. I am yet to find a liquid lip from the drugstore that I actually like. So I thought whilst I was picking up and trying out these ones, I really wanted to give this one a go. I've got it on now, and it has dried pretty quickly. It feels really comfortable on my lip. I can't sit here and say that it feels uncomfortable, but the shade that I'm actually wearing is the color Loyalist in the number 05. I actually really love the color. Like I think it's really pretty. Like it's a really nice nude pink, which I don't have a lot of. So I will check back in at 3 o'clock and let you know how it's all traveling. Okay guys, so it is now 3:32 and I'm just checking in. It's been about 2.5 hours since my last check-in of this foundation. I have to say I'm like seriously so obsessed with it. It makes my skin look absolutely flawless, and the coverage is still looking absolutely amazing. The color has oxidized so good, and at the moment it hasn't really been separating anywhere. My lipstick is still intact. I haven't applied any more since the last check-in. It has like kind of come undone a little bit on my lip, but other than that it's still looking really good. As far as like my under eye area, so far it hasn't separated more than what it did originally, so maybe that was kind of my fault. Like maybe I just put a little bit too much on. But what I'll do is I'll check back in another couple of hours. Like I might wait another 3 hours and do it at about 6. So I just feel like this has been 2.5 hours, but yeah, this foundation honestly so far so good, and it just looks so good. I've like been clearing out, like throwing out shoes and just doing quite strenuous things, and I've also had lunch and had a coffee, so this is still looking really good. So I'm so excited to see what it's going to look like. That will be about 6 hours that it's been on my face, so I'll come back at about 6 o'clock and let you know how this is going so far. But yeah, at the moment I'm giving this foundation so far about a 9 out of 10 because it looks honestly flawless. Okay, so I am back for my third check-in. It's now 6:10. I have officially had this foundation on for it must be like 5 hours now, and I have to say I've actually still got the same lipstick on as what I did also from when I very first put my makeup on. I've like literally, I've drunk, eat, whatever with it, and it's literally stayed so nice on my lips. Like it's just starting to look a little bit like chatty now. For 5 hours, that's like literally almost your work day. This 24-hour coverage stay for the lip product is amazing. I haven't ever had a liquid lip last that long and still look this good. So I highly recommend these liquid lips. I find that they're absolutely amazing and they feel still really nicely on. Now, as for the foundation, I'm still maintaining that I'm absolutely loving this. After 5 hours, I don't at all feel oily or, you know, dry. It's really not too different to what it looked like at 3 o'clock, and that was 3 hours ago. I wouldn't even really feel like I need to powder or anything like that. As well as like my under eye areas, it is starting to crease a little bit, but considering it's been 5 hours, it's not looking so bad. But yeah, like even in the areas where I do have my dry patches, it's not really separating or anything like that. So I'm literally still maintaining the fact that I am at a 9 out of 10. Like I'm obsessed with it. This foundation for a drugstore is amazing, and it is a really, really pretty color. Like it's still stayed quite nice as well. As much as I am not a super fan of the under eye concealer, it definitely does look still quite pretty, and the coloring and the brightness is still looking really good. Yeah, I don't know, this is just making my skin look amazing. I will check back in when I get back from wherever I end up going. We're going for Thai, and sometimes we usually like to go for coffee after, so if we do, I probably will get home maybe like 10:30. So I feel like that would be a really good indication. That's still not quite 12 hours, but I mean, realistically, the longest that you'd ever wear foundation for, well, what you should wear it for, is probably 12 hours. Like I mentioned, it's now 6:15, so it will be probably another 4.5 hours from that time. Like I'm not going to dinner till about 7, so yeah, I think that will be a good amount of time to check in. So yeah, I'll let you guys know what my thoughts are at that check-in point. Okay guys, so it is now 9:52. I've just gotten home from dinner, and this has been on for another 4 hours now, and I have to say it has lasted on my skin amazing. I am so incredibly impressed with this foundation. I feel like with the price point and the fact that it's a drugstore foundation, it has lasted my skin fantastically. Again, I haven't actually touched up my lipstick since 12 o'clock today, so it is now been on for about 10 hours, which is absolutely insane to me. Mind you, it is kind of chapping a little bit on my skin, which I would have expected, but considering it has stayed on amazingly, the fact that it's a 24-hour stay liquid lipstick, I just feel like this is such a great bargain and a great liquid lipstick. It feels so nice on my lips as well. I wanted to talk about the foundation. For a matte foundation, this has stayed on my skin amazingly, and it has not gripped to any dry areas or pigmented areas. I feel like it's definitely sort of faded around this section around here, which is pretty understandable, and around my smile line. My under eye is starting to look a little bit powdery, but considering this has been on for about 10 hours, I have to say I would probably never really leave my makeup on for that long anyway, but this foundation is just legit so worth the money. I am now moving this into probably an everyday type of foundation that I'm going to be definitely using. I absolutely love it. I feel like it is just lasted on my skin so well, and it definitely does not look terrible whatsoever. I reckon I could probably get another couple of hours if push come to shove, really. Yeah, I have to give this foundation honestly a 10 out of 10. Like, it is amazing. I highly recommend it. It's definitely something that I will definitely use again. Like I mentioned, it will be a product that I will use a lot now that I have tried it. However they've reformulated it is amazing. So yes, definitely gonna give that a 10 out of 10. So this is my final check-in, and I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video. I haven't done a first impressions for a really long time. Like I had mentioned, there wasn't really anything that I had wanted to try up until I spotted this foundation recently. If you want to see more first impressions, please let me know down below what you would like to see me do a first impressions and review on. So if you liked this video, please make sure you give it a massive thumbs up, as it helps me out a lot. Also, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Also, the red bell button is right next door to that to be notified every single time I post a video. All my social links will be listed down below as usual, so you can come past and say hello to me over there. But until next time, I am going to bed and I am scrubbing my face off. See you later, guys. Bye.